Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We're the Armory today, looking at unit comparisons for Eastern Bloc, which is a new faction, and for that new faction we have a new expert player that's going to be balanced. And the first thing we're going to do is just look through your line infantry pick, sort of your chaff-like units for this faction, and I have some questions for this, because one of our units, Motostrelchi, is regular line infantry, the other one is Motschützen, which is shock training and low availability, so I have no idea how this works, and Balanced, if you want to take it away, let us know how to use this deck, what you take, and why. That would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, when we're talking about options in Eastern Bloc, your main thing is that you're going to be kind of thin on your infantry tab as a whole. So people like to either prioritize min-maxing like the amount of fire support they can get from their transports, or trying to get as like high quality infantry as possible when you're playing on spec. The two main choices we have are Motostrelci and Motschützen. Those are like the predominant choices you see people take. When it comes to Motschützen, we'll start with them. They're the classic pick. You'd basically be running these for either the quality of their infantry with like a decent transport. So either you'd be taking them in, let's say, this BMP1 over here, the 10-point BMP1, a super good option, cheap fire support, good HE value, or decent HE value for the price. The BMP2 for something a little bit higher quality, or the 5-point basically SPW 50 PK. Those are generally your options with here. And it's important to note when we're talking about, like, each transport conveys a different thing. So if you're running the 5-pointer, like Motschützen are probably like your pure grind, right? So you'd be running like one card of Motschützen in this 5-pointer and another one in either probably like the BMP2, right? That was an old way that people ran it. If you're running the BMP1, people would do 2 cards BMP1, right? In this case.
Up or down vetted usually for that?
You definitely want to down vet in this case. I'd argue up vetting infantry, but Eastern Bloc, you're so thin on infantry, especially if you're running a shock dependent deck, like a build for it, that you wanna down vet them in this case. So which can be a detriment for quality purposes.
Just looking at this, I mean, you take 2 cards down vetted, you have 30, and that's compared to, for example, the Motostrelchi and the Oat 62A, where you get 22 down vetted. This seems like almost a choice of quantity versus quality, even inside of your line infantry.
Yeah, so basically the main things is that you're paying basically more per card, like for card efficiency here in terms of pure infantry numbers, the Motostrelci are better, which opens up your options. So you take 1 card of 22 infantry, which fits your options just fine, or you take 2 cards of 15 infantry, which are better quality infantry, and the transport in this case is better, but can be different depending on, like, you know, Motostrelci transport options, which you can get into a little bit later.
Gotcha. So I guess just to follow up, because this is something that was really intimidating for me when I first looked at Eastern Bloc, is just look at how many things you can scroll through. And then I've heard tell that some of these are actually just the same card. Is that true, or are there differences?
Yeah, a lot of them are pretty similar. So like base Motschützen and like Spados are literally the exact same infantry.
So that's going to be the Spado... Okay, I see. Spado Kronyarzi, I suppose.
I just called them Spados for that reason.
Yeah.
But like, as you can see, they're the same infantry. Transport options are different, though, and that does matter. The main advantage of taking the Spados over the Motschützen would be the MI-17, are easily the best like kilo transport in the game. The issue is they don't, especially if you take them in the MI-17, because of the availability difference, they're not for line infantry purposes in this case.
Gotcha, that almost seems like a specialty unit pick, just because, I mean,
Exactly.
9 at Hardened, 7 at Veteran.
Exactly.
Decent veterancy, but just so few.
Yeah, it quite simply, it's too little in most cases, unless you're playing a specialized deck like Motorized, which would be the only deck that would get them in this case.
Okay, so I guess my summary question for you then, since we've talked about these, it seems the pros and cons are pretty clear. Which do you take and why?
So I've run a couple of variations of Eastern Bloc. Personally, I think that for newer players especially, your best option is Motostrelci in either the OT62A or the OT62 Vidra 2.
So that would be the 15-pointer 2 frontal
Yes.
armor autocannon?
Yeah, exactly that one. So this thing is really a decent autocannon for its price, right? You're still getting that same availability. 25 points for infantry plus autocannon combo is totally good. That's totally workable. That's fine. That's the same with like Sechong-Su with the KFV 25 or BVP with Mezpez, right? It's not as good as those other 2 transports I listed, but it does the job and it's super solid. And for newer players, I'd probably recommend this as their option because autocannons always help out.
And it preserves the 22 availability at trained, which just gives you more units to call out if you start losing them, which, well...
Exactly.
Well, fair enough. I guess that'll be Unless you have something else to add.
Well, I was just gonna say that the reason I'd tell newer players to kind of stay away from Machutsun, or not stay away from Machutsun, but stay away from like double Machutsun like BMP1. It's just the honest truth is there's just not enough infantry for newer players to work with, and it's too card inefficient in this case, especially if you want to upvet it. Which I mean, most people at higher level play are going to be upvetting a lot of their infantry, but like regardless, like that, there's a huge penalty there. And while the combo is great for 25 points, you're getting a better quality infantry and a solid transport. I think the BMP1 could arguably be worse than the. I'd say it's worse than the Victor 2 because an autocannon has delves a huge advantage over not having an autocannon because you can shoot at helicopters. Your infantry DPS is better,
but it's also 5 points cheaper, so you do get something.
Yeah, exactly. But remember, we need to pay attention to the combo here, though, right? The combo costs the same price. So
yeah, you're right.
25 points for Vitra 2, Motostrelki, 25 points for Machutsun, BMP1. It's the same combo price.
Gotcha. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that, and that's going to be our unit comparison for today. So thank you guys for hanging around. We have a whole new faction to dive through, and we're going to go through card by card and tab by tab, just like always here with our new expert player balanced. So we'll see you guys with another one tomorrow.